If you are being pushed into the spotlight and it makes you very uncomfortable, you're going to like this podcast today. We are talking about reluctant public figures on Black Ram TV's podcast, Gaining Ground. My name is Daniela Sagia, and I am Chief Strategist and Creative Director of Black Ram Media Group, Inc., and thank you for joining us today. So this conversation was inspired by Joey Fitzpatrick of Saltwire. He interviewed me the other day, and we're talking about how Black Ram Media opened a satellite location in the Maritimes, and that was inspired by one of our clients, Nova Graphene, that's doing amazing work in R&D. And we've opened up a satellite location here, and now we're servicing the Maritimes as well as Ontario. So he was interviewing me about that, and he asked me, who's your main client when it comes to strategy and communications? And I said, usually politicians and CEOs, and I kind of lumped them together because it used to be that only a politician or entertainer cared about being, in the spotlight. But now board of directors everywhere are pushing their CEOs into the spotlight. And many CEOs aren't comfortable with this because as a business leader, you're thinking about your business and you're happy to hide behind your brand and you want to build the brand of your business. So why do you need to be a rock star, right? Does every CEO now need to be like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk that are giving inspirational interviews and, turning into the Robin Sharmas of the world? And the answer is yes. Yes, absolutely. Because now people want to know the people behind the brand. And when you have someone who is very successful, and if you're a CEO, you have a little bit of success there, and it usually requires a lot of grit and skill, and people want to know, how do I do it? I want to be successful too. So these are the people we want to hear from. And so the pressure's on. And we've already done a podcast about this called CEOs Being the Next Celebrities. You want to listen to that as well. So anyway, Joey and I were having this conversation, and he said, well, if people are meant to be in the public eye, and that's kind of organically growing, why do they need you? And it's because many don't want to be in that position. They feel uncomfortable being forced into the public, and usually they are either very insecure or they take themselves too seriously to be able to just relax and enjoy that transition. So they fight it every chance they get. And therefore they come up with all the excuses of why they shouldn't do a thing. They think it's silly, it's stupid, they don't understand the end game, and I hear a lot of resistances from those individuals about why do I need to put myself out there? Because face it, if you're not out there, you're pretty safe. There's not going to be a lot of public criticism if the public doesn't know that you exist. So as soon as you put yourself in the spotlight, you are now open to criticism, scrutiny, and all sorts of things that can be very unsettling to someone who truly values their privacy. And a lot of times these individuals will have a lot of hang-ups about how they sound and how they look. That's a huge block for people. And the ironic thing is, if you are one of those people that are insecure about how you appear physically or how you sound or anything, how somebody might criticize you, whatever, that you think you're protecting yourself, but you're actually holding yourself back. Because now that we are in a society that wants their leaders to be very vocal and transparent and share their knowledge and inspirational, now you're being pushed to that level where you may not feel internally that you're called to that. Now, if you listen to somebody like Mel Robbins, and if you haven't, I highly suggest you do, Mel Robbins talks a lot about your brain and how you overcome certain foibles, let's say. And one thing she always says is it's your job to become the person you were meant to be. And growth means pushing yourself outside your comfort zones. So if this is something you're struggling with, Mel Robbins is a really, really great person on YouTube to look up and listen to because she will set you straight on a few things. So what ends up happening is those individuals tend to be my client, where they know they should do this, they don't want to do this, so please help me. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. You know what I mean? That's what they say to me. I don't know, what am I supposed to say to people? I don't know how to be inspiring. That's not what I do. And my answer is the fact that you made it to CEO level is inspiring. The fact that you thought, I'm going to run for public office and serve my community, That's inspiring. In and of itself, you are inspiring. So you don't have to come up with the best quote and the most inspirational line. Just show people who and what you are. That is inspiring. And what breaks my heart is when I have a client that has this massive potential and they will say to me, I can't film today because I'm having a bad hair day. I want to hit the roof every time I hear that. Now, I do it, approach it with compassion when I can, because I understand that that's deep insecurity when I hear that line. And I must hear that line at least once a week, eh? The I'm having a bad hair day is the most common thing I hear about why one of my clients doesn't want to appear on camera one day. And the thing that's funny is usually the hair problem they think they have, people don't notice. And I guarantee you there are days that you think you're having a bad hair day. And if you were to say this to someone that sees you every day, they will say to you, your hair looks the same as it does every day. So these little nuanced things where your bang is a little bit to the left more than usual, whatever, are so subtle, you're the only one who sees it. And so here you are working so hard to protect yourself from looking bad or looking stupid, but all you're doing is really keeping yourself from finding success. All because of a hair, up to the way your hair is parted that day, So it's silly when you think about it, and it's okay if this stings a little, it's okay if right now you're feeling a little embarrassed if what I'm saying is ringing a bell, and it's the same if you have body issues, whether you feel you're too fat or you feel you're too skinny, and whatever it is, you don't look good in this outfit. You don't want to go on camera. You don't want to do the video because you're not feeling confident that day. If you've said that once, you probably rarely feel confident, first of all. And secondly, if you're sharing a piece of expertise, so you're not a supermodel, right? Your job is not dependent on your looks. You have an expertise that people need to learn from. They don't care what you look like that day. They don't care that you don't look like whatever supermodel of the day is. They want to know that piece of information from you, and that's why they're listening. So they will be impressed by your smarts. Your looks don't matter. And I know that, there's a lot of people scoffing hearing me say this right now, because we're in an age where everybody's very critical. And you'll put a picture of yourself up, and there will be the comments that are horrible, because the public tend to be that way. Armchair warriors like to be picky, especially people that are jealous, right? So if they can't criticize your smarts, they're going to criticize your looks. Who cares? Does it really matter at the end of the day what some stranger you're never going to meet, who's never going to impact your life, thinks about how you look in a jacket? Really, at the end of the day, irrelevant. But people put so much stock into that then they'll never put themselves out there for fear that some asshole stranger from across the pond might think something horrible about you. Who cares? Just get your message out there. So my job is to help new public figures or up-and-coming public figures come to peace with that in their career. So I will train them on how to appear publicly, on how to appear in the best light publicly, on how to be on all the time, how to be able to answer a question organically and not have everything pre-scripted, and how to grow into their potential as a public figure, how to be a little bit more inspiring, how to fascinate their audience. And everybody fascinates a little bit differently depending on their personality and what their mission is. So we try and find that in a manner that's integral, because you don't want to be a caricature, right? And so many times in this, quest to appear perfect all the time, we show only one facet of ourselves and we tend to be a caricature. And you don't want that to happen. No one's asking you to be fake. No one's asking you to create a persona. And I mean, that's one of the things that inspired me to get into PR. There was a time in my career, I was very, very young, and I ended up doing very well at something, and someone decided that I should be famous. It was a publicist. And they said, we're going to take care of your PR, and we're going to work out on your public persona. And they started writing for me. So they were writing things for me and posting pictures of me and certain, likenesses that really was not integral to who I was. They were truly making me into this caricature, and it felt fake. And I remember saying, that's not who I am. That's not who I am. And that relationship fizzled really fast. And one thing that I've learned time and time again is I've watched people over the years try to be what they think the public wants from them. When you're not living in your integrity, when you're not congruent, when your outward message is not congruent with your internal dialogue, you will feel soulless. You will dry up, you will become bitter and toxic, and it doesn't last. So what I always suggest to my clients is don't try to be what you think people want. Show people who you really are, especially if you're a politician. You owe that to your voters. Show your public who you truly are. Roles, mistakes, mispronunciations and all. Be honest and don't take yourself so seriously. It's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to look silly. Nothing, it's not the end of the world if there's a typo in your copy. You just take the post down and repost it, fix it. So there's so many like the hair. I hear this at least once a week. Can't go on camera today, I'm having a bad hair day. I guarantee you that if you were to go to somebody very close to you and say, how does my hair look to you today? They will say it looks the same as every other day. You're the only one that's noticing, that your bangs are a little bit to the left or your part in your hair is not completely straight or whatever it is. It's such a subtle difference. You're the only one who sees it. And so when you're holding yourself back saying, I'm not going to do the video that potentially will go viral and make me successful because something's happening with my hair that no one's going to see, it's kind of silly. It's silly when you think about it, right? So if you ever listen to Mel Robbins, and if you don't know who she is, I suggest you look her up on YouTube. She's a brain expert, and she talks about things like hang-ups and stuff that hold people back. So if you haven't heard from her, go check her out on YouTube. She's fantastic. Mel Robbins. And she says, one of her lines is, it is your job to become who you were meant to be. And growth requires you to go outside your comfort zone. So when your shareholders are saying, how come you're not like Elon Musk, who's all over social media, or you're not sharing inspirational tips like Jeff Bezos? Wouldn't it help our brand if you were more out there publicly? The answer is yes, it will. So you are only hurting yourself by not doing it. And if you say, I'm not doing it because it doesn't feel right, or I'm uncomfortable, that's a sign that you're in growth territory. So many times we say to ourselves, I didn't do it because I had a bad feeling. I had a bad feeling, so I took that as a sign that I shouldn't do it. Okay, maybe. But let's hope for an or here. Or maybe you feel bad because this is pushing you outside your comfort zone. Because I can tell you from personal experience, every great thing I've ever done in my career, I was terrified to do. Terrified. Or was terrible at. Public speaking was one of them. I was so terrible as a public speaker and so afraid my voice would shake or I'd sound robotic, and it was a skill set like any other. And the more I did it, the easier it got, and now here we are on a podcast. So honestly, things get better and you get more comfortable the more you do it. So just because you're feeling awkward right now doesn't mean you're always going to be awkward being out in the public eye. You do get used to it. So my job primarily, especially with newbies, is to work with them to teach them how to be a public figure, how to train them so they feel prepared, how to think about things that, will help them prepare for public life so they won't get caught off guard and not make silly mistakes like, Jagmeet Singh, who wants to preach about helping the poor while he's wearing a Rolex and a designer suit. These are the things that public figures, the mistakes they make, like Chrystia Freeland the other day talking about canceling Disney when, to address half the population going to food banks. These are the mistakes that public figures will inevitably make. And speaking of those two, they're highly successful people and they've received all of the training, right? They've done all the things and they're still messing up, and it's okay. They're still in their jobs. They're still successful. So even with all the training and the prep, you're still going to every once in a while make a mistake, and people will move on. You'll get over it. So you need to allow yourself that room to grow. You need to allow yourself to make mistakes and to be able to laugh at yourself. Not take yourself so seriously, because that's the biggest thing. When you can let go, like for example, I own several businesses, and one of the businesses I own is a store. It's a luxury gift shop in a tourist village. And every once in a while, we will post videos that are just silly and fun because we like to keep the page positive. So I posted a picture the other day of singing. I was, air guitar type thing, singing into the cash register scanner. The most unflattering picture ever. Got amazing reach. Nobody said, "Gee, Daniela, you look ugly and I could see your double chin." It was like, so refreshing to see somebody make fun of themselves and to laugh and have a good time. My mom, who's not exactly Grace Kelly, loves to dance on the social media page of that business. Loves it. And the audience loves her for it. Loves her. And it gives them permission to be free. It gives them permission to loosen up, love themselves, and have a little bit of fun. So everything doesn't always have to be picture perfect. You don't have to be picture perfect to be effective. You could be incredibly inspirational even having a bad day. Now, I've also talked to public figures that say, okay, I'm the CEO or CEO of a business. You're wanting me to go on social media. I have nothing to say, like nothing happened in the business today. Okay, great. But why don't we have a conversation about how you handle adversity? Why don't we talk to the public about how you deal with someone who gives you negative feedback? Or what's the biggest lesson you've learned in business? Or, philosophy. People want to hear your business philosophies. It doesn't always have to be a press release about a big milestone your company has just hit. Sometimes it's just a conversation. Let's talk about some of the failures you've made in business. That's stuff that can really help people. And then what ends up happening is your brand no longer is, and including your personal brand, is no longer this one-dimensional cardboard cutout that nobody really trusts because you just look like a cartoon character. You now show yourself as a multifaceted human being that is interesting and relatable, even to people that can't relate to you. And then when they can see your vulnerabilities and see you laugh at yourself and how intrinsically human you are, they trust you. The public can smell insincerity. That's one of the things I talked about with Joey as well. You can only fool the public for so long, so don't bother trying. And again, when you are trying to project a self that doesn't exist, whose hair is perfect every time, who's always in the perfect outfit, when you're doing that, people don't trust it. They would trust you far more if you posted in your pajamas. I'm not suggesting you do post in pajamas, but, they would trust you more if you were sitting in your backyard as opposed to sitting in someone else's boardroom you're borrowing to look fancy, right? So people want to know who they're voting for or who they're giving their dollars to in terms of supporting their business. And it's integral that you do that because it speaks of integrity. You're showing the public exactly who you are, every layer, every wrinkle, every bump and lump, and people trust that. And when they trust, they spend, they shop, they vote. So that's your advice for today. Get over yourself. Get over yourself. Have fun. Have fun with it. And you have an opportunity with all the tough lessons you've learned in life. You have an opportunity to turn those lessons or turn those experiences into lessons that other people can use to improve their life. And when you're providing that kind of social value, that's good for everybody. It's good for you. It's good for your business. But more importantly, it's good for your audience. Because now you're of value. And at the end of the day, as a human being, isn't that what we're going for? Okay, everybody, go get them. Have a great day, and thank you for joining us at Gaining Ground, blackrammedia.com.